You ever notice how sometimes you think you've got life completely figured out, like you've mapped out every step, every move, and then the universe just comes in and laughs at you? Like, nice try, buddy. That's cute. I swear it's happened to me so many times that at this point I've stopped trying to control everything, because the older I get, the more I realize maybe it's not supposed to go the way I planned. Maybe there's something bigger at play, something smarter than me. And honestly, that thought used to freak me out, but now it gives me peace. Here's the thing, everyone's got this idea of what their life should look like. You've got your dream job, the perfect relationship, maybe a timeline for success in your head, but how many times does it actually work out that way? Like really, almost never. You plan everything, you grind, you hustle, and then bam, something happens. You lose the job, the relationship ends, the opportunity slips away, and in that moment it feels like failure, it feels like the universe just pulled the rug out from under you. But years later, when you look back, you start to see the pattern. You start realizing, damn, maybe that wasn't failure. Maybe that was redirection. I remember when I first started stand-up, I had this vision of what I thought success looked like. I thought I'd hit it big in a certain way, maybe land a certain gig or get noticed by the right people. And for a long time, none of that happened. I'd bomb sets, lose opportunities, and I'd get so frustrated. I used to sit there thinking, why isn't this happening for me? I'm doing everything right. But then out of nowhere, something else would pop up, an opportunity I didn't even know I wanted, and it would change the entire trajectory of my life. And when I look back now, it's like, yeah, if those early plans had worked out, I probably wouldn't be where I am today. It's wild, man. You can be so sure about what's best for you, and yet be so wrong. Like, think about relationships. How many times have you been with someone and thought, this is it, this is my person? You build your whole emotional world around them, and then it falls apart and it hurts like hell. But then, maybe years later, you meet someone else who completely changes your idea of what love even is, someone who fits into your life in a way you didn't even think was possible. And that's when it clicks. You weren't supposed to end up with the first one, you were supposed to go through that pain, that loss, that confusion, so you'd grow enough to recognize the real thing when it came. I think that's how God, or whatever you want to call that higher force, operates. Not like some puppet master pulling strings, but like a cosmic architect who sees the whole blueprint while we're just looking at one corner of the map. We see what's in front of us. We get stuck in the moment, but there's a bigger design happening that we can't see yet. And I know that sounds kind of mystical, but think about it logically. How many times have you gone through something that felt terrible, and later you realized it was the best thing that could have happened, like losing a job? I've talked to so many people on the podcast who've said, man, getting fired was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it forced them out of something that was slowly killing them. It made them build something new, something better. But when you're in the middle of it, you don't see that. You're panicking, you're angry, you're asking, why me? And the answer is because you were never supposed to stay there. We're control freaks by nature. We think if we just work harder, if we plan smarter, we can bend reality to our will. But life doesn't work that way. There's this mysterious timing to things. You might think you're ready for something right now, but if you got it now, you might not even be able to handle it. I think that's part of the plan too. Delays, setbacks, even rejection, they're not punishment. They're protection. Like, maybe you're not ready yet. Maybe what you want is ready, but you're not. That's happened to me so many times in my career. There were projects I wanted to do years ago that didn't pan out, and I was pissed about it at the time. But when they eventually did happen, it was clear why they didn't work before. I wasn't there yet. I hadn't lived enough, learned enough, or grown enough to do it right. When it finally happened, it felt effortless. The timing was perfect. That's how I know there's some kind of divine rhythm to life. Something that knows what it's doing even when we don't. And here's the thing. Sometimes God's plan isn't about getting what you want. Sometimes it's about losing what you thought you couldn't live without. That's the part that hurts. Because when we talk about God's plan, people always imagine blessing, success, peace. But sometimes that plan includes heartbreak. It includes failure. It includes chaos. Because those moments teach you the lessons that comfort never could. They strip away your ego. They humble you. They make you look at life differently. And once you get through it, you realize you're stronger, wiser, more grounded than you ever were before. I've met so many people who say, if that thing hadn't gone wrong, I'd never have become who I am. And it's true. Sometimes your breakdown is your breakthrough. Sometimes the destruction of your plan is the creation of a better one. But we're so quick to label things good or bad. Like we have the authority to decide what's actually best for us. You lose a deal, bad. You get promoted, good. But what if the good thing turns you into someone you don't like? What if the bad thing opens the door to something better? You just don't know. That's why I've learned to stop labeling things so quickly. Because what if what looks like chaos is actually order in disguise? I don't think this means we should just sit around waiting for fate to do its thing. You still have to move, you still have to try. But there's a balance between effort and surrender. You put in the work, but you don't cling to the outcome. You trust that if it's meant for you, it'll unfold when it's supposed to. And if it doesn't, it's because there's something better, even if you can't see it yet. That's such a tough mindset to keep when you're in pain, though. Like, when life hits you with something devastating, losing someone, losing your health, losing your sense of direction, it's easy to think the plan's broken. But maybe it's just beyond your understanding right now. Maybe that pain is part of the transformation, because real growth doesn't happen when things are easy. It happens when you're forced to rebuild, when you're forced to trust something beyond yourself. I think about people who've gone through unimaginable things, war, tragedy, loss, and somehow come out with more compassion, more strength, more clarity. That's not random. That's resilience shaped by something bigger than human logic. It's like life knows how to forge you into something better, even if it has to break you first. And I've had those moments too, where I look back and realize the things that didn't work out were saving me. Like I used to get obsessed with opportunities thinking, if I don't get this, I'll miss my shot. But now I look back and realize, man, those missed shots were blessings. Because if I'd gotten everything I wanted, I'd have missed out on the things I needed, the things that shaped me, grounded me, made me actually appreciate what I have now. Sometimes I wonder, how many times have we begged for something that would have destroyed us if we got it? How many times have we dodged disaster without even realizing it? It's like God's editing your life behind the scenes, cutting out scenes that don't serve the story. And you're there complaining, why'd you cut that part out? And God's like, trust me, the story's better this way. That's the part I've learned to respect the mystery, the not knowing. Because if you knew everything that was coming, there'd be no growth, no discovery, no wonder. The uncertainty is part of the adventure. It's what forces you to stay awake, to pay attention, to evolve. So when things don't go the way I expect now, I try to ask myself, what's this trying to teach me? What's this preparing me for? It doesn't make the pain go away, but it gives it meaning. And that meaning is what keeps you going. I think that's what God's plan really means. It's not some rigid destiny where everything's predetermined. It's more like this intelligent flow that's constantly adjusting, constantly guiding you, constantly redirecting you toward who you're meant to become. You still have free will, you still make choices, but the plan uses those choices, good or bad, to shape your path. And it's weirdly comforting, right? Because it means even your mistakes have purpose. Even the wrong turns are part of the map. You can't mess it up completely. You can take detours, sure, but you'll always end up where you're meant to be. So when people say everything happens for a reason, I think that's what they mean. Not that everything's pleasant, but that everything's connected. Every heartbreak, every delay, every no, it all plays a role. You just can't see the whole picture yet. I've come to believe that the plan, whatever you call it, God's plan, the universe, fate, isn't about comfort. It's about growth. It's about becoming. And sometimes that means being broken open. Sometimes that means letting go of what you thought your life was supposed to look like. But when you do, when you surrender that control, you create space for something way more meaningful to step in. So yeah, I still plan things. I still set goals. But I don't cling to them like I used to, because I've seen too much evidence that there's a higher intelligence at work, something that knows when to delay, when to detour, and when to deliver. And when I look back at my life, the ups, the downs, the weird coincidences, the timing of things, it all makes too much sense to be random. It feels like someone or something was connecting the dots the whole time. So if you're in that space right now where nothing makes sense, where you're asking why it's not working, why it's taking so long, why you're stuck, just remember, it's not the end of the story. You're in the middle of the plan. And maybe it's unfolding exactly the way it's supposed to. Because maybe, just maybe, God's plan is better than yours. Not because it's easier, but because it's wiser, because it knows who you're meant to become, even when you don't. And the craziest part One day you'll look back and realize that the detours, the delays, the heartbreaks, they weren't random. They were the route. The plan wasn't falling apart. It was falling into place.